All right, Yanique, let's get this going. I'm having such a hard time with your name, but I'm so excited to have you in here with me. For those of you listening to this, we just had a really fun conversation. You're in for a treat. Yanique has such a fun take on life, fun take on business, and really just an awesome energy. So Yanique, I'm excited to have you here. First off, say what's up to everybody, and then we'll dive in.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully I don't say anything crazy. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Just so you guys know, that's the thing she's most worried about. She's like, just don't make me sound crazy. Like, help me not sound crazy. I'm like, that's okay. Be crazy. That's our people are that way. We're all very laid back on this show, those who listen and those who participate in it. So Yanique, you've been in the graphic design space for a long time, and you've worked in corporate. You've had your own companies. You've done it. I really feel like you've run the ringer of graphic design, and there's kind of this. I would almost say like people are getting too hustle and grindy when it comes to graphic design. If there's a better way to say that, you'll have to let me know. But it's almost like it's only something that can be used as a gig. It can't be used as a real company. And you've really just proven that. Like we've watched this over and over, because we've all hired, everybody who listens to this is going, oh yeah, like graphic design, I could hire somebody on Fiverr to do a little project, or like, I could do it as like one-offs, right? But like, tell me about how you've been able to actually turn it into a real company. Because I mean, you're working. I'm not going to tell people your average client value, but guys, it's a lot. I mean, they make a lot off what they do. And so, Yanique, like fill me in. How'd you turn it into a real business?
The first thing is, we make a lot because we give a lot of value, right? So we're not giving nothing, right? If you're coming from the place where you're like, well, I can just do this and I can like have somebody just knock this off on Fiverr, that's cool, right? But that's assuming that you as a subject matter expert are also an expert in graphic design and what converts and what works. You're not. Graphic design is not a DIY job. Like, as much as like Canva, no shade to Canva, those are my people too, wants to convince you that you could do it all on your own. That takes away from the time that you need to be spending on building your business, on, getting to know your customer avatar, on actually honing in on the marketing message. Like, you don't need to be over here trying to figure out how to like fix layers and like what visual contrast actually work. No, like give that to someone who's an expert in that, so you could do what you need to do to actually make your business better. And I think if you're not thinking from that, I want to be an expert on this and hire an expert who does this so that we could all thrive and grow and build together, then you are going to think that, graphic designer is a gig thing. Like, build me this business card and I can go off and do everything else. Well, does your landing page actually make sense when we're talking about what the product that you're actually offering? Are your YouTube videos actually supporting that same message? Does your social media tie back in? And when people are looking at all these different channels, do they feel familiar? Do they feel comfortable? If you are hosting a mastermind event, like when they get to the mastermind event and then they look you up online afterwards, do they still feel like they are receiving the same message, having the same conversation, a part of the same community? And a lot of people think, I have brand colors. What does that even mean? Like, how, like, I mean, sure, McDonald's has brand colors too, but like, it's not just about the colors, but those golden arches. Yeah. It's a whole different vibe. That wasn't what is with me in DUI today? That was not a DIY job.
That's okay. That's awesome. You actually had a really awesome point in there that I hope people will even read between lines. You made a really good point, but there are also some really good lessons learned in there, which is what you're talking about. Is that one of your killer differentiators is that it's not just one-off work. If you're feeling like, I just need this graphic built, or I just need this, if it isn't part of the strategy and the story of the brand, what's the point in putting it out there? And I will actually even support this by saying, a lot of the podcasters we've worked with, they struggle with this a lot with their own brands, because they're, like you said, I've got my brand colors, this represents me. And you're like, okay, but does it really fuel the brand? Does the content you're putting out actually tell the story and align with each other? Mm-hmm. I know we were talking about Repurpose House, our sponsor, before this, Yanique, but that's one of the reasons I like working with companies like you and them, because you're structuring the content in a way that it has actual strategy and intent, instead of just, hey, we're just going to haphazardly create material. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, because that's something that people really, oh, we need graphics. Well, what does that even mean? Actually, onboarded a client. Actually, I onboarded a client this morning. We're having a conversation, and she is a she has her own masterclass, but it's like specific for the events industry and like for event tech people. And she was like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, don't worry about it. So we sat down and had a conversation, right? Like based on like how I've been working with other people within a similar space and like what kind of assets they need to build and put together. And we sat down and like from beginning to end, this is your objective. This is who your audience is. This is actually what you want them to take away. And this is the end result of what it's going to be. And walk through all the assets that you would actually need to actually make that happen. And then what we want them to feel and do throughout that. So that when we're building the assets, number one, they all connect together. They all make sense. They all flow into a certain place. Even like how we're going to be using like colors. It's not just like her brand color is purple. Sure. Right. I'm just saying purple right now because I'm trying not to point her out too much. But like how we're going to decide what colors are going to go throughout that process to invoke a very specific emotion at that different stage within her actual funnel, right? Like from before they decide to sign up for the course, once they're interested in the course, once they actually sign up for the course itself, once they're in there interacting, engaging, and then once they start getting results, so that they'll turn around and, you know, write her some cool testimonials that she can use to get more people, just like that client right there. And sometimes when you're thinking about, okay, well, let me go to like Fiverr, Upwork, whatever, you are missing the part, you're missing the strategy part, you're missing the partner. We are our clients' partners, and we think about them from the beginning to the end. We're not just here to just grind out a bunch of things and disappear. There are other organizations that are even like some semblance of similar, where you can go online and you can like subscribe to them for a month or whatever, and they'll churn out the design. The problem with that is you can't pick up the phone and call them. You can pick up the phone and call us. You can have a conversation with us. You can schedule time to talk to your project manager. You can watch all your projects like on the project dashboard from start to beginning. Like, oh, this is where this is going. This is what project this is connected to. Okay, this is great. And then you know that you're going to be supported by top-notch staff, because when we're sourcing our staff, we're not limited to a geographical location. We're like a 100% remote organization. I live in Jamaica. Wow. I like my flexibility. I like being able to travel. Even though we do work on Eastern Standard Time Zone, we don't lock ourselves into just the talent pool that's there. We are looking at people from like all the way from Seattle, Washington, all the way over to Manila, Philippines, and we're looking for the best of the best. And when we're bringing them in, it's not just about the interview. They're tested. Like some people kind of hate our test. They're like, why do I have to do something? Like, well, if we're going to bring you in, we kind of need to know, like, you need to have the capabilities and the strength to do what our clients need the way that we do it, because how we do it isn't how everyone else does it.
Yeah. See, and that's amazing. Well, you know, what's so interesting to me about this is that, first off, it's the uniqueness of support, which is also one of the big differentiating factors. And again, I'm just kind of like picking apart how you're turning it from gig to real company that can scale and grow. And I think the other thing, based off of what you and I were talking before, that was such a unique differentiator is the who and the how you're serving them, because you're not just coming at it saying, hey, we're going to make social media graphics. You're going, we're going to build this around you and events. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because this is around events and real market, because if events are a main piece of their sales strategy, why would they not put a ton of money and flow behind that? Mm-hmm. Like, so A, how did you find out that was an industry that needed served? And B, how are you finding them as clients?
That's a great question. Oh my gosh. Great story. So right now I'm president of this thing called the Graphic Artist Guild. But before I was president, I was like integrally involved in like programming and like advertising, whatever, all the different things within the organization. We were putting on a conference called Start Your Own Design Business Conference and teaching people how to, you know, create a thriving graphic design business, it was graphic arts business. And one of our sponsors was the National Trade Show Alliance. And I was like, why does the National Trade Show Alliance want to sponsor an event for graphic artists? And I mean, no one's saying no to the money, because they're like, oh, this is where we need to be. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. And I sat down and I had a conversation with like the owner of the company, and I was like, what's up? And she's like, no, like we have a problem. like our industry right now, the live events industry, is like really, really struggling with having talent, right? This is like 2020. We all know what happened there. We won't even focus on it too much. Their workforce significantly depleted. They were at like 60%. And as I was talking to her, I was like, oh, I've done this. Like I was like, head of the trade show department at a corporation. I was, planning trade shows and building all the graphics, traveling with the sales guys around the country to make sure like the marketing assets made sense. I was like, if we were to adjust our company niche and really like hone in and focus on that, we would be killing it. So we kind of like tried it. Like we put our foot in there a little bit and we were like, oh, this is going well. And then I got to the point where I was like, no, this is going really well. So we're only working with these guys now because like they know what they want. They know how to articulate that. And they're like, let's execute. So that's kind of how I found out about it. I was like, there's a group of people with a need and I know how to solve it. That's easy. Execute. Let's go. It started off with just like throwing stuff on the wall, right? Because who knows?
Everybody
and
has
then
to do it. Yeah.
Right. And then over time we refined it to create this really awesome streamlined process, easy onboarding, really fast output to the point where now like, someone starts working with us, they can get their first design in 12 hours, like easy peasy, boom, boom, boom. And I think that for me was like a really big turn. I don't even know the lady's name. She's like Laura Palker. I don't even know if she knows how much I talk about her in my interviews, because that's like really like a big catalyst, like a big turning point for the direction in which my organization went. And in terms of like, as I've been like reaching out to try to like find people, initially what we started doing was like LinkedIn. If you go and you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll find that like I'm on there every day. I'm responding to people, I'm answering messages, I'm posting, I'm commenting. And that was really like a really great way to attract people. They're coming in, they're engaging, they're doing all these things. So there's that. Then I started doing this podcast where I was interviewing corporate event planners and trade show marketers. Like those are my, like, those are my people. I want to say TA, trying not to be too jargony, but that's my target audience, right?
Yeah.
And I would interview them, and it was really about creating this platform where I could stay connected with people, because this is when I had just moved back to Jamaica. I moved back to Jamaica about 9 months ago. It happened when, my dad died and my brother got murdered, and I was like losing my mind. Wow. I was like, I need to leave America because I don't even really feel safe right now. Like I just need to go. And I still knew I needed to be able to sustain myself and sustain my business. Like my employees are relying on me, right? Like it's one thing when I decide I'm good. And a whole different thing when you realize I'm good means that a lot of people can't eat. Right. And I was like, okay, the best way to do that, right, is to stay connected with people. How do you stay connected with people? Have conversations. How can you have conversations that apparently my calendar has decided that I should stop talking to you? But how do you have conversations with people that continue to be authentic and can still impact a wider audience? And I was like, okay, podcast, boom, do that. Right, and between those two things, like it really increased my ability to get in front of the people who really need me to solve their problems. Then I've also more recently been running Facebook ads, which have been really great. And keep in mind, I only started getting to that place like where I'm starting to like pay for ads and like pay to be in part of like specialty website banner ads and be in magazines and things like that. Right. Now that like I'm like, I know my TA, I know they're buying, I know what my message is, I can start spending some real money on this thing. So it started off, I think I was like spending like maybe like $100 a day on Facebook ads, and then it became like $1,000 a week, and then just kind of like honing and adjusting. We actually don't have to spend as much now that we kind of like understand what we're doing. But if we really want to like scale it up, like let's say, this month for whatever reason, we want like 100 new clients and we had the capacity, just increase this Facebook buy, and it's a whole different vibe. Right. So yeah, that's how I find them.
That's amazing. What's so funny is that Yanique, you'd be surprised by how many people that I talk to who I'm one of those. We just kind of stumbled on an industry and we're like, holy crap, I can serve this industry. Nobody's serving this group in this way. So that's why I'm like over here, like clapping inside my head, slow clapping. I'm like, great work. That's so awesome.
It's funny though. Like when I talk to people, they're like when I'm talking to them like about, they're like, we have designers, but we've never really met a designer that specializes in events. And I'm like, I'm here for you. That's what I'm here for. Right.
Which is why you're going to blow everybody else out of the water.
They're not going to exist soon. And I'm hoping for that. Like, actually, they might even subcontract to me.
Exactly.
And I'm okay with that.
Or they'll just get gobbled up by you. Just go buy them up. Right.
There's also that.
I'm a huge fan of that. But anyways, yes, that's so cool. It's just so funny to me to hear how everybody's story always seems to be the same way. And I want to highlight something in your story is, you said you were just throwing mud on the wall and saw what sticks. But what I also heard from that was that you were being so curious, and you were brave enough to go ask why, right? And that's what's so because our biggest problem as entrepreneurs is we tend to just assume we know everything and assume we know our clients and assume that we know what they want and when they want it and how they want it. When truthfully, most of us just haven't been brave enough to sit down and be humble enough to say, what do you need? What do you actually need? And like, you were in the right spot. In fact, there's this lady I had on my show. She's one of the first guests I had on this show. And I was talking about luck a lot back then, because obviously the Lucky Titan name, right? And I was talking a lot about it. And she's like, I don't believe in luck, but she's like, I do believe that there are doors that you can open up. But she's like, what I do is I go into a hallway full of doors and I start kicking them down. And I thought that was like the most
I love that
amazing
for her.
thing. Amazing. And I'm like, I just can envision you being that person, like wham, kicking them down, and then you find it and you run with it. Awesome stuff.
I think a lot of that is more like, there are a lot of great ideas, but it's all about execution. I've been a part of like way too many master classes for like the same reason, right? Like, trying to really lean on different people to teach me things that they already know, so that I don't have to be over here struggling by myself to figure it out. And when people are coming into the classes, there's always some part of the course where they're like, find your niche and lean into that. And they're like, well, how do I find my niche? I don't know what. And then it's just like, bro, just pick one. Just pick one. Yeah. Pick somebody who has a problem and solve that. Just do that. It's not
find out really fast if it's the right niche for you, because it starts to work.
yeah, right. Well, there's also this guy who was like, I think he said like, don't niche me to death or something like that, where people were like, they would try something for a week and it wouldn't work, and they would just be like, oh, new niche. And it's like, no, you need to kind of invest some like real time discovering what they really want, how you can solve it, this, that, the third. And then there's also the people who are like, oh, well, I don't like to do that. And that's another story altogether, because
so you don't actually like making money. That's what you're also saying.
So the thing, right, is like, they're like, oh, well, this is what I want to do. And I was like, that's great. Or you could do something that you don't necessarily like to do right now, and then take that money, hire a nice enough team to do fulfillment, right? Once you've hired them to do fulfillment, it's to the point where you're only focusing on like big picture ideation, execution things, and then you take the money that you make and go do what you actually like to do later.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. You don't actually have to wake up every day going, I love picking up garbage, but you can be the person who knows how to pick up garbage really, really well, buy a couple trucks, hire some people to drive them, and execute, and then have a really great quality of life.
Yeah. This is a really good interview, Yanique. I'm really enjoying this. I didn't think we were going to go this direction of like knowing the TA, right? Or the ideal client, whatever you want to call it, right? But what I can tell you is like your take on it is so unique, because you understand something that I think most people don't understand. Is, like you said, just pick one. What you're talking about is like picking a persona that you really like to be around, and then you just figure out what they need.
Yeah.
Because truthfully, what you do and how you fulfill on it is almost virtually inconsequential. Yeah. Because it is. You're just the mind that's going to be tasked to solving their biggest problem, or not even their biggest problem, just a problem that they have. Right. Yeah. So really cool. And, Yanique, we're coming up to the end of the interview here. So I do have to end this before the hour, which is in 3 minutes. And I don't want to abuse your time. So let me ask you just one other question. So first off, for those of you who want to connect with Yanique and you say, hey, I've got a fantastic event and I want to leverage events to actually generate revenue or like attending events, you need to go hire these guys. So it's YKMD. So it's the YKMD.com. And you can actually book a call with her. I'll post a link here in the description for you guys, so you can just click right through and jump to the front of the line with her. But go check their strategy out. If you want to leverage and make real revenue with events, you need to hire these guys. So go hire them. So Yanique, before we move out of this and before we end the interview, I just want to ask you, when it comes to graphic design and designing your brand in the way that you guys do, what would you recommend as a quick little 5-minute, 10-minute activity that our audience could go do today to get a quick win in this segment?
Oh gosh, 5 to 10 minute activity. All right. Project management. Put together a project management board. I recommend Asana. Asana is what we use. I think you could definitely get this done in 5 to 10 minutes. Sign up for Asana. They have a free version. It's not a big deal. And then within your project management board on Asana, you want to set up a couple of columns. The first column is going to be your to-do column, right? That's where you're going to put all the assets that you need to get done, so you have them in one central location. Then your next column is going to be work in progress. And that's going to be anything that you're actively working on now, anybody that your team is actively working on. Then the next column is going to be for review. This is where you're like, okay, this has already been worked on. It's going to sit here, and I'm going to come back and review these to make sure it's actually what we want to execute. Then the next column is going to be published. So that's the column where you're going to be like, okay, this is where we're going to send anything out. This has actually been scheduled. This has been posted on social, whatever, this website's been launched, blah, blah, blah. And next column is going to be complete. And that's where all the projects that you've done are going to live. And that's going to give you a really awesome, streamlined way to kind of understand everything that you need to actually execute and bring your vision to life. And then everything that you've actually gotten done so far. I don't know if anybody's familiar with David Goggins, but like, it's almost going to be like your virtual cookie jar. So you can go back and be like, I have not just been spinning my wheels. This is all the things I've done in order to work towards this actual end goal. And then if you see that you've done a whole bunch of stuff and you're still in the same place and you're not hitting your goals, it means that you're doing the wrong stuff. But you have it all on this board to know what to do, when to do, what to do, and what you need to now change and do.
I'm going to end it. That was awesome.